Questions, questions, questions. We've got questions. Hi, Tony DeWitt here. I'm a Missouri appellate attorney, retired, and I bring you a fresh perspective on the law without offering any legal advice. So pull up a chair. This is what we're discussing today. I just looked and realized that I have now over 29,000 subscribers, and I really appreciate that. I am going to try to answer some of the questions that have been put to me by email, and I'm going to do it in video form. I'm probably going to do a bunch of these a little bit shorter videos, but hopefully on this Karen Reed case, they will help make some of this make sense, or at least show that I don't have an answer that I think is accurate. So let's start with one of the first questions I've received recently. This person says, I might interest you to talk about a video from another channel called 3 Days Ago, the Autopsy Speaks Dog or Deadly Diva. The idea is presented that the jury can easily find Karen Reed guilty based on the common sense facts, and they can ignore all the misstatements, purposeful or not, made by the police. My question is, can a jury reach a verdict of guilty based on common sense, or must they reach a verdict only on what is presented and how it is presented? Are there any indisputable facts here? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, the jury instructions are going to tell the jury to rely on the evidence that was received in court. Now, could they make a finding of guilty based on the evidence that's been presented in court? Hypothetically, I guess they could conclude that in spite of the medical examiner and all the other witnesses, that there was a collision and that Karen Reed is somehow guilty. I think that would wind up being appealed and overturned because I don't believe the evidence is there. In fact, if this were anybody else's courtroom, I would expect actually a directed verdict in this case so far because it has been handled so poorly. That stated, there is a thing about jury nullification. A jury can essentially nullify the law and just reach any verdict it wants to. And sometimes juries do that. And that's just a consequence of the way our system is set up. But I think more likely than not, jurors tend to take their oath seriously and deliberate seriously. And as a result, they don't make findings based on common sense. They make findings based on evidence. And you just have to hope that these jurors are going to do that they're going to take their oath seriously, that they're going to take their job seriously, and that they are not going to send Karen Reed to prison when the state has not come anywhere close to meeting its burden, especially given all of the problems with the investigation. I've said this before, but generally speaking, most people watch television and most people watch crime shows like CSI and CSI Miami, Law and Order, that kind of thing. And as a result, they understand what police do when someone has been killed and they suspect some foul play. They immediately rope off the scene. You may have watched a series called The Closer, and the crime scene settings in that particular drama were very close to what you expect in a crime scene. And so I think when the jurors actually sit down to deliberate this, they're going to look at the totality of the evidence and they're going to deliberate on the totality of the evidence and they're going to come back with a verdict based on that evidence. And at this point, that evidence is so wanting. I would think that the verdict would be not guilty, but you can't bet on what a jury is going to do. So hopefully that answers this person's question. I want to make sure that you understand when I post a question like this, I'm not going to identify the person who asked it because I think that's disrespectful. And some of these questions are very good. Some of them may contain things that people are going to go, anybody ought to know that. But not everybody does. And so I'm going to I'm going to take the time and I'm going to try my best to explain this. So thank you very much. And on to the next question. That's what I have for you today. I hope you found it helpful, interesting, or maybe both. If there's a subject you'd like me to discuss, please feel free to send me an email at the address above. If you like what we do, please feel free to subscribe and come on back to the beach tomorrow. I release videos every weekday, weather and work permitting. If you have the opportunity today, do a kindness for your fellow man. It makes the world a better place, one kind act at a time. And now, YouTube has some suggestions for other videos of mine that you might like.